We got ourselves Pazu as the first one, or I guess first player on team 1. Actually looks kind of cool. Yo, that mouse, I think it barely support your weight, but my man's looking with a whole pride over there. We got Ash over as a survival hunter. We got Arhi on that team, together with what looks like Yasia gonna be first up, as well as Sojiro. Yasia playing Demonology, Necrolord, Warlock. We've seen a couple of boys over on the Alliance and Horde, over on the NA, play that build. And it's, I mean, it's popping off right now. Fake Zags are going to be first up, meaning as a Warlock versus Warlock. Yassi playing not with a cheesy trinket, or legendary rather. He's playing for the legendary that amps up the value of his pet. Going to be a stun onto Taxi. It's going to go for Trinket. Mortical is going to make him immune because he's running the new Resolve. Trinket landing the interrupt onto Yasia. And Yasia is also running the same Trinket. As soon as these boys get interrupted or stunned, CC'd, anything, even a simple root, it gives you an immunity for the next two casts. So it's going to be a little bit harder for them to interrupt one another. And they're going to have to be a little bit more careful with kicks, with stuns and everything. Going to be Fake Taxi, loading up full dots, big damage, full rod onto Yasia. Yasia behind the pillar trying to summon up a whole new Wrathguard. Is going to be able to get one up and rolling. Going to be a Mortical as Taxi is trying to swing around. Deathbolt onto Yasia with a big drain. Trying to see if he can end this man's whole career. Going to be Yasia able to free cast for a while. That's going to be Taxi trying to see if he can land his side behind the pillar. Yasia still has dots rolling. That Dark Blade did quite a bit of damage, but looks like Yasia recovered from a lot of the onslaught of Taxi. Taxi pulling back a little bit, is going to go for a bit of dots on the Wrathguard. And Yasia, I mean, this man just got to figure out some way to just get some healing off of Taxi. Mortical is going to be necessary just to catch up a little bit of health, potentially just go for a massive drain. And looks like instead of drain, he's just setting up for Demon Bolts. Going to be having to go down, getting a quick stun on Taxi. It is going to be an interrupt stun, rather. And looks like Yasia is going to back up out of there. He got a couple of pets, couple of imps on there. Barrage and Taxi. The Dark Pack should be able to hold on for a while. Free new Flash Cup for Yasia just to catch up a little bit of health, since he does look like he's a little bit behind. Mortical into Yasia. Does a free casting. Gonna be Taxi landing a full soul run onto Yasia. Does he have maybe a big go? Gonna be a big drain. Not much you can really do. The fact that Yasia was next to the team, that drain is gonna end up hitting the rest of the team 1, which is in a way gonna give Yasia, I mean Taxi, a little bit more healing, a little bit more overall damage. I think it's still not super cheaty doodle. It's not like he did it on purpose, right? Fear by Yasia. As this man used to be looking for a little bit of recovery. Gonna be a wall just to give himself a little bit of defense. Gonna go in for a port to get up close and personal with Taxi. Gonna be a stun, locking down the Affliction Warlock for a second. Yasia waddling next to him. He's gonna be summoning a second pet. Fake Taxi is able to get himself some free casting. Wall is up just to give himself a defensive. Has a Dark Pact as well if he wants to use it. Could go for potentially a big go. Yasia get hit with a Mortical, amping up his pets a little bit. Gonna be a Dark Blade join in. Taxi could maybe go for a big Dark Soul Hysteria as Yasia trying to see if he can land a stun on Taxi. These trinkets make it really difficult for these two casters to CC one another, because literally as soon as they get one stun, one interrupt, it's just immunity. Good big drain by Taxi onto Yasia. He's just loaded up with dots, and I think it might be over. I think he just might go down unless he somehow just starts recovering, and it looks like he does go down. Mortical does connect. It would have given this Warlock healing, though there's a bit of travel time with a Mortical, and looks like it's going to be a pass and trying to get a charge out of Taxi, but that Resolve Trinket kept him immune from the roots. He was able to just juke out of the way of the spear. That's going to give him quite an advantage. The fact that he can just keep a perma slow onto Pazza is going to have to maintain a permanent uptime on that Curse of Exhaustion, but as long as you spend the global, that's going to be quite a decent slow on to the warrior. Pazza is just mounting up, wait until the dots are gone, needs to make sure he gets himself another go over Taxi. His charges are going to proc that Resolve Trinket, so it's going to be pretty difficult for him to be able to do much. Fear, Taxi is going to be able to get some free casting. Going to be that Aegis Trinket, popping himself quite a big defensive Pazza, so he's able to at least deal with some of the magic damage coming out for Taxi. That Trinket lasts for like, what, 20 seconds? 10 seconds? 15 seconds? Somewhere along those lines, right? It's like a new defensive trinket was added with the Season 3. It is going to offset like 50% of the damage, magic damage you take into a shield. So it's quite a nice defense. It's like a 50% DR, specifically that's magic damage. It looks like Taxi should be able to potentially get some damage into Pazza. Pazza just going for big defenses immediately in Rage Generation up right now. There's going to be Soul Rod, Hysteria, full dots, Mortical, Deathbolt onto Pazza. I think it's just going to be nuts. Oh no, in the Mortical. Even though they nerfed the damage of Deathbolt, that thing does still quite a bit of damage over the last 3 seconds. That's just a ton. Fake Taxi is gonna back up out of there and actually just melting Sejiro with a single drain. He barely had dots on Sejiro, but just one single drain with the haze buff and everything. And Sejiro is already hurting. Is Taxi just gonna go for like the 1v all play, 1v all strat, 1v5 spear? Taxi is in place. It's gonna take the gamer to break out of that spear. Gonna be a leap by the Fury Warrior. Ash is looking to catch up, and Taxi using that soul shape just to get the hell out of dodge. Sejiro, as a Fury Warrior, did just burn off a wreck, and that's going to be a Mortal Coil trying to see if he can go for an interrupt. Taxi trying to go for the stun of Sejiro. It's going to be full stun. Got it. UA is up and running. Is it going to go potentially for a wall? Dark Pack. You might need some in here. It's going to burn a Warlock Hellstone. So Shadow throw to try to break through as much of the Dark Pack as possible. Quick drain by Taxi. And Sejiro is going to Zerkers out of that fear, so he doesn't have to run out. Could just stay on top of Taxi, but that slow with the Curse of Exhaustion is already helping Taxi by a mile. Gonna be a Death Bolt and everything on Sejiro. Does activate Aegis of his own. Looks like Taxi is able to burn through quite a bit of Aegis fairly quickly. Normally you almost never see the shield really go anywhere, but his dots are really rotted through his shield pretty quick. Gonna be able to reflect, but Sejiro does create some damage reduction as long as he doesn't get reflected on, or as long as he doesn't get hit by a spell. Forced to burn off the reflect element of his spell reflect. Sejiro is still dotted up. That's going to be dots ramped up by Taxi. Mortal Coil into Sejiro. Going to be UA getting set up, and Taxi trying to maintain the dots on Sejiro as best as possible. Spear down onto the Affliction Warlock. Wall this up. That's going to be reflect for Sejiro as Taxi trying to maintain the drain as best as he can versus the Warrior. Reckless is up, as that's going to be potentially maybe the Torment King Century, so it's a free Blaze Storm together with the Wreck. Going to be Dark, full Dark Death Bolt onto Sejiro. Dark back up for Taxi. Sejiro trying to see if he can heal through all the damage taken. That's going to be a big drain onto Sejiro. He's going to walk by the Dark Lair and try to see if he can snag a heal from that thing as soon as possible. Dark Pact is up on a fake Taxi. Got himself maybe full UAs rolling. It's going to be a big drain onto Sejiro. Is just trying to keep himself afloat. Sejiro trying to not fall behind the Affliction Warlock. He's trying to be extra careful with his burst, or with his CC rather. Just because Taxi's burst, if it's uninterrupted, is just going to be really brutal. Taxi is down on a lot of cooldowns offensively and defensively. This is where potential Sejiro can make a play. Quick fear on Taxi. He knows that Taxi is going to be immune to a couple interrupts. He has Reflect in case there's a Mortal Coil to be sent out by the Alpha Warlock. Looks like he's not going to get himself Afflictioned out, or Mortal Coiled out. Leap by the Warrior trying to reconnect back. Spear onto Taxi, trying to see if he can break it. He's unable to. Dark Pack coming up very soon. Maybe he can go for a drain, trying not to get interrupted. Big drain does give him a little bit of survivability. Fear onto Sejiro is going to Zerker Rage out of it. Taxi trying to see if he can back up out of the Dark Pack is up. Sejiro does himself big cooldowns ready to go. Potentially could be a port for Taxi. It's kind of in a tight spot right now, only living by the drain. Right now, not a lot of really defenses available. Let's see, maybe you got a Warlock Hellstone coming back up very soon. 8 minutes, I think it might be down to X against Taxi going for a port at the last second. That's going to be Sejiro barely almost getting the kill onto Taxi, as he's going to go for the drain on Braun, trying to recover as much health as he can. Taxi, if anything, got some offenses coming back up very soon, but in terms of defense, looks like he recovered a lot of it just now with that Mortal Coil. That's actually quite a big heal. 8 minutes, 32 seconds into the game, 22% dampening, slowly crawling upwards. And Taxi just tried to keep the dots on Braun. Wants to sneak around and get some dots with Sejiro as well. Going to be reflected by Sejiro the Warrior. As Taxi trying to get away in there, going to be the spear. Is going to be able to blast himself out of that spear together with a gateway, breaking that chain, breaking the spear down with a full Dark Light coming down over Sejiro with a full Death Bolt and everything. Lots of dots rolling in. That's going to be a portal for Taxi, trying to get the pressure on Sejiro. He does have full defenses ready, but he does need a heal at some point. Dark Lair is going to end up disappearing. Sejiro with barely any health at all does go for borrowed health with Rallying Cry. Reflect is up to reduce some of the magic damage he is taking, but Taxi basically has him in a good spot. Mortal Coil by Taxi. No outs for Sejiro right now. Taxi just trying to make sure to read down and back up. UA drain. I think it might be over for Sejiro. Borrowed health is going to be down for the count. Trying to do whatever he could just to survive it. At that point, all you can really do is hope that you maybe can land yourself in the melee of either the Dark Glare or either Taxi and just snag a heal from one of them with either Bloodthirst or Impending Victory. That's about all you can really do. Ash going to be up next, getting a tag onto Taxi. Ash getting dotted up with a Serpent Sting. Tossing out nades, trying to maintain as much silver range as he can. If Ash is playing the non-damage focused legendary, which likely is playing Craven Stratagem. I've heard it used both ways, honestly. But that's going to be a quick drain onto Ash. Going for that interrupt muzzle into Taxi. Taxi able to get a free cast. It's going to be Ash going for a complete reset. Taxi, if anything, he knows that the Hunter is going to be able to take off and just shake off all those dots every time he lands a feign death. But the pet will not be able to do much about it. As long as the pet is dotted with agony corruption, the pet will eventually drop down, and Ash will actually lose a bit of his utility with a stun as well as the defenses with the pet. Medic bandage up for Ash. Also, you deny the Hunter ability to camo while the pet is out and active. As long as the pet takes damage from the dots, you can catch yourself a re-stealth. Gonna be Ash with a flank strike mortal by Taxi, trying to go for a fierce setup versus Ash. Ash chooses to trick it out of it. I think trying to go for a muzzle, missing that muzzle versus Taxi. Taxi trying to go for a bit of a drain, but looks like it's gonna be freezing trap on a Taxi. And again, you just gotta maintain the dots on the pet as best as you can. Ash actually spending the global just to make sure the pet has a pet man rolling, as the dots are gonna slowly rot that thing down. For Taxi, if anything, the pet is not even there for the dots really, but rather for the more procs of drain and for that inevitable demise play. Taxi's dropping kind of low though. Could go for a dark pack. Might want to use anything he can at this point. Just trying to keep the pressure onto Ash as best possible. Some does do get caught. Ash with a feign death. Can Taxi reconnect somehow? Stun on Taxi. Does not have a way out of it. It's just gonna have to sit the stun. I think it might be over for Taxi unless he can somehow get back on top of Ash and just put some dots. That is going to be a Root. Wait, Root actually would have been immune. He just got stunned. Drain life onto that pet. Again, recovering just a little bit of health. Trying to get the dots back onto the Hunter. Freezing trap right next to him. Actually, Taxi could walk into the freezing trap just to remove those dots off of him if he wanted to. Try to see if he can pour it and sprint over to Ash. Ash, I think, tried to go for a cam. Mortical onto the Hunter with a Fury, but Taxi, does he have enough damage here? Shadow Fury onto the Warlock, onto the Hunter. Trying to see if he gets the soul rod, but the Hunter does end up playing out the game for so long and does end up finding himself the kill. It's going to be Ava Maria next. Get it with the freeze. That's going to be immediate trinket. Try to see if he can just drop Ash down. Ash so far has been playing a hell of a game against Taxi. Definitely one of the longer ones, but hell of a game for sure. As Ash is getting kind of low, and Ava Maria is just going to not give him an opportunity. Arki, last one over on team 1. But at this high dampening, it's just going to be down to whoever ends up getting the first kill. Whoever ends up blowing out cooldowns first loses. That Paladin is hella rude. Is he? Ava Maria? What, for killing the Hunter? I no cities for him? Yo, nah, that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. But don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Things like that ain't gonna happen. I mean, plus it's a little really high dampening. I think Ava Maria just trying to play the game. That's gonna be a big tap on Ava Maria. Might have to bubble the next burst out of Arki. It's gonna pre-bubble it just knowing there's gonna be something big. Gonna be a chicken for Arki. Again, no healing is available, but Arki at least has a health advantage. Ava Maria trying to see if they can recover a little bit of health. Not a lot available. I think Arki is gonna take him out. What's gonna be next? Is it Beggar? Oh, there's no way this rogue loses. There's no way. Beggar skulking over, approaching, and Arki got himself a little bit of a sippy cup. Looks like Beggar's getting an opportunity to catch a reheal, at least catch a man up. There's no dampening that's gonna help you out at this point. 19-minute game is the first game of the night. Are you kidding me, boys? Garrote onto Arki is gonna slam the rogue with a Sunder. Got the Ghost Rules, and letting the Ghost Rules just do damage to Beggar from a distance. Dropping down the stun total, Beggar does avoid it. I think trying to see if he can get a spike onto Arki. I don't know if he was able to. I think it might have been a spike on either the totems or one of the Ghost Rules. I think it was the Wolves. As Beggar tried to go for a sippy cup, but you're not getting any health, dog. You ain't getting any health, my man. Disarm onto Arki. He doesn't really need the weapons just to get some blast in there. Beggar might have to go for a cloak of shadows and everything. Trying to see if he can drop down the trick, and I think he missed. Oh, who just won that? I think it must have been Beggar, right? That must have been Beggar. Oh my god, Taxi with 3 kills, but does get rotted down to the Survival Hunter at the end. Beggar trying to make a play versus Arki, and I guess Arki maybe try to see if he can get a zap, but Beggar definitely got that kill. I don't know what kind of a setup that was. 83% dampening. Yeah, at that high dampening, there's no way you're going to be able to get any heal, let alone much of a reset. It would take forever, honestly. So I'm